This is an overview of the Unit 4 Excel project. In D2L, be sure to actually click on the Unit 4 Excel project to see the 3 attachments. When you open them, you'll see that one is an Excel spreadsheet where you'll do your calculations. One is a Word document that will walk you through step by step how to do your calculations in Excel. And one is a template where you'll actually answer the questions. The template and the Excel spreadsheet are what you'll turn in. For questions 1, 2, and 3, you'll use these descriptive statistics that have already been calculated for you. This is a good review of chapters 1 through 3, or the material from Unit 1. The Inferential Statistics tabs is where you'll figure out the rest of the information. Inferential statistics is broken up into 3 sections for this project. Notice the first row for each confidence interval, the total set, is already calculated for you. And I showed you the females here so that we could answer question 4. It says, do you have any groups that are significantly different weights based on the confidence intervals? That is, the confidence intervals overlap or do not overlap when compared to the overall group, and what is your reaction to this? So if we compare the females that have a confidence interval from about 74.2 to 81.0 with the total set, so that confidence interval was 79.4 to about 83.888, there is an overlap, right? The low part of this total is inside the female's confidence interval. So we would say that these two are not significantly different. If there were any that did not have any overlap, so if something was completely higher than this 83.888 or completely lower than this lower limit, then we would say they are significantly different. If we look at the next part, the hypothesis testing, notice the first thing that you're asked to do is look up the mean and standard deviation or margin of error, height and weight for the general population and each group by gender and by age. Notice this is not telling you to get the information from Excel. It is asking you to use your research skills to find this data elsewhere. Then in question 9, you're asked to decide whether where you found it is a good source. Is it reliable and unbiased? And explain why or why not. For test 1, you're told what test to do. Let's look at the directions. Right? They tell us here that we're going to test that the average height of an adult, so be sure to look at this top table where it says height, is 170.2 centimeters. They're telling us that our null hypothesis is that the mean is 170.2, and our alternate hypothesis is that it is not 170.2. So when you're using your X bar, you're going to be looking at the average height of our total set. Standard deviation, you'll also be looking at the total, and that n value will be the total. Your degrees of freedom will be automatically calculated. And if you look here, we've already typed in the information for the test statistic here. Once you populate the test 1, you'll be able to see your test statistic. If you scroll down in the directions, it shows you with some color coding how to do that. And then it also tells you how to find the p-value. So for this p-value, you'd have to decide whether it's a left-tailed, right-tailed, or two-tailed test, and then use the appropriate formula. For test 2, you're still going to be using the average height, but this time you're going to be looking at one of the subsets. So you are going to choose females, males, millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, or the silent generation. And based on that height for the subset you choose, you're going to decide whether it makes more sense to test that 170.2 is too high or too low. You're going to put the appropriate information here and have to calculate the proper test statistic p-value. In the result for both, you're going to type either reject the null or fail to reject the null. If we look at correlation and regression, The scatter plots have already been designed for you. What you're going to do is figure out the slope, the y-intercept, and the correlation at r value for each set. If we look at our directions, they tell us that we're going to use these formulas to find our information. So if we look for the slope of females, I'm going to hit equals, and I'm going to start typing slope and click on it. And then notice it says the range for the y values. My y values are weight. So I actually have to scroll over to sorted by gender and highlight the weight for the females. Then I'm going to hit comma and my x values. So I'm going to take the height of females. I'm going to close my parentheses and hit enter, and it'll take me back to where I started. You're going to have to go through that same process where you click on a different tab for the intercept and the correlation as well. Please also note that when you get to the age groups, you're going to need the sorted by age tab rather than the sorted by gender tab. Then you're going to complete the questions on correlation and regression. When you are done, be sure to go back to the very beginning and complete the abstract.